If only they knew. The hub for young business minds.
Yes, people, it's Ted Lawlor, and welcome back to another episode of the If Only They Knew podcast. Today, we're joined by Lucy Toone, founder of TOMM Jewellery, and she speaks about why it can be good to be an outsider at school, how to build a brand that celebs love, and how her company almost ended when it got hacked. So if you want to learn how to build a brand from a local venture to an international success, this is the podcast for you.
Yeah, so my name is Lucy and I started TOMM Jewellery almost 3 years ago when I was 19 from my mum and dad's house in my bedroom. There wasn't a spare bedroom, it was all from my bedroom. I started a jewellery company out of the passion of making and creating. I've always been more creative than academic. I have never been one to unfortunately enjoy the education system or any type of forced education. So it was my kind of route to doing something for myself instead of going into university or anything like that. But now, 3 years later, I've got 5 employees.
Wow.
6-figure company, and I'm in my second premises now, so
Wow, amazing.
cool.
Yeah, that is amazing. So tell us, before we dive deeper into what you're up to now, obviously it sounds amazing. Who were you before all of this? Like you said there, you hated school. Am I putting words in your mouth there, or
100? Yeah, I hated school.
Yeah,
I kind of blocked it out actually.
yeah. I'm the same. I completely sort of, as soon as I finished school, I got rid of it. It's almost like what's the word? Like to protect myself from all those bad memories. So yeah, how was it for you? What did you find useful about it? Because obviously all the people that listen to this are young people interested in business, and they've just recently finished school or are still in school. So for you, what did you find useful? What did you not find useful? Yeah, let's speak about school.
It's actually one of my biggest passions is to help people that was similar to me when I was growing up. Similar to yourself, I'm sure that when you're in school, you're taught, well, I certainly was taught that you needed to get certain qualifications, you needed to be a certain way. And unfortunately, at the time for me, they were all ways that I weren't. And, I didn't follow the tide as well as, teachers had hoped.
Does that mean you're naughty, or was you just not was you not sort of involved, or was you just outright naughty?
I wasn't naughty.
Yeah.
I think I had wit, which
Yeah.
fortunately for me, I managed to get out of being maybe considered as naughty as just cheek. Which probably has just got worse with age actually, but I just don't have a teacher telling me off. It was just an environment for me, and again, every kid's experience is different from another, but my experience was I didn't belong, and I had huge resistance towards being told what to do when it was something that I knew naturally wasn't right for me. And on reflection, I guess now, you shouldn't do something that you have resistance towards. And I'm sure you know the most about that, especially when it comes to manifestation and law of attraction.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. As you said that, I was like, I know exactly. Yeah, like only after looking into it, I know exactly what it's like. But yeah, go on, carry on with that line of thought. I think that is so interesting, isn't it? Like sort of from an early age, knowing what you wanted to do and being told to do the opposite was so frustrating, I think, for everyone like us, I guess.
Yeah, and I was super lucky. Like my mum and dad and my family as a whole are extremely supportive. They have no idea what goes on in my head half the time. I don't even think I do. But they were just like to me, get what you can and get out. And for the last 6 months of secondary school, I didn't actually go to school. I was like in bed. I struggled a lot with depression, therapy. I never was bullied, I just I didn't find my place there. And I think, I could make up a story and say, oh, it was all this happened and it was traumatizing, but it wasn't. It was just not my place. And that's okay, because I'd rather, looking back now, the world that I live in today and the life that I'm living now be my place than when I was in school.
Do you, on that point, do you think there's sort of like, what is the cure for that? I'm trying to think, like, because obviously there's a lot of people that will be like us and will be at school now thinking exactly what you're saying there. They just feel out of place. They know they have to sort of go through the motions to get the grades in order to sort of progress through the system. What do you think they can do? Like, do you sort of think that the cure or the remedy for that is sort of just see it for what it is and sort of tick those boxes and do what you need to do in order to reach your full potential later down the line? Or what do you think those kids struggling with that can do in this moment in time?
It's a really good question, because I actually had an article written about me quite a few years ago that was talking about the subject of GCSEs. It was at the time when people were getting their GCSE results, and you know, there's always focus on all these A-star students, and I didn't go and collect my GCSE results. I didn't ever go back to school, actually. I think I went back like a year later, and actually it's because I went for a coffee with a teacher who is is in the jewelry world now. But what I spoke about when I was interviewed was how, you know, realizing that you're not the only one that's struggling, and even the people that are doing ridiculously high grades are struggling, and probably struggling more than you are mentally. Because I do think that forcing pressure onto people that are, well, children, teenagers that are developing their brains, which you are at that age, can actually be one of the worst things to do. So for me, for example, you know, when I have children, it's something that I don't want to do. It's the biggest thing that I've learned from life so far, is how you treat people and what pressure you put on people. And you know, how you are in school will probably reflect the most of your life. You know, everything I do is a reflection of how I was in school. So if you're struggling right now to kind of come to terms of where you sit within the education system, don't feel like there is an answer, because it's okay to not be settled. The worst thing you can do is to force yourself into a box that isn't going to fit. And be frustrated by it. Just allow yourself. I think the best thing for me was I was so depressed in school that actually the pressure wasn't hitting me, because I couldn't think about pressure. I was just thinking about waking up in the morning and brushing my teeth and like being okay.
So you sort of like numb to it, I guess. Like that almost gave you in a weird way like a safety barrier, almost, like where you was more worried about your actual your well-being and your actual self, rather than all the external stuff. All the external stuff was sort of like meh, whatever.
Yeah, and I do think, you know, obviously you need to get your maths, you need to get your English, but if you don't get it in that go, you get another go. You get a lot of goes at things. I've certainly had to have a lot of goes at different parts of my life, and trial and error. But again, a lot of people don't realize when they're that age that actually failure teaches you more than success. So if you're failing in school, chances are you're going to know how to succeed better at life than those that succeed in school.
Yeah, it's weird.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But no, if I was to say one thing to someone that is struggling in school or education because they don't fit into that world, then I'd just be like, just accept that you're not going to fit, and actually get excited, because you're probably really unique and you're probably going to smash life.
Yeah, that's it. That's the thing, isn't it? Like there are like a massive wave of outsiders, if you want to call them that, like coming through the system now, that in a few years are going to be, I always think there's always got to be like the next generation of Elon Musk, Tony Robbins or whatever. Like even if it's not that level, there will be someone that fills that gap in the market, I guess, if you want to call it that. So I think you're right. There is a massive sort of emphasis on those outsiders. And I think having role models was something that helped me when I finally found them. So looking up to like the Gary Vaynerchuks, the Tony Robbins and stuff like that, and just seeing what's possible really made me think, okay, like you said, you don't have to sort of fit into that box, because these people didn't even go to school, most of them, and look where they are now, right?
100%. I think, you know, my role models are misfits, and it's an interesting world, creating a business or any sort of, even just creating a career for yourself. Self-discovery is inevitable if you allow it, and what comes with allowing self-discovery is going to be bumps in the road, and, you know, learning curves, and probably a load of crap. You know, you're gonna have stuff thrown at you, but for example, Anne Summers is one of my role models, and her story is incredible. She was hit with a huge amount of resistance from an industry that just didn't like what she was doing, and it was a load of, you know, unfortunately, as much as I wish it wasn't like this, but at the time for her, it was men in suits that told her, you cannot do this, you can't be, you know, wanting to open into an industry. I think Ireland actually didn't allow Anne Summers to be in their country, in the they didn't have any stores with her in.
That's crazy.
For a few years, and she was really successful at that point as well. But she was a massive misfit, and she, you know, didn't let them stop her from doing it. So I think, super cool things come from people that rebel.
That's it. And I can see, like, you've got that cheeky smile whenever you say misfits or rebellion. I can see that smile. So you're clearly one of them. But how has that benefited you then, if you are one of the outsiders, if you want to put it? How has that benefited you? Because you've gone on to obviously do great things. So did you always, you sort of referenced it earlier, did you always want to be an entrepreneur? Obviously you were a misfit, but where did that entrepreneur element come in? When did you say, okay, this is how I can sort of channel that energy into that sort of line of work?
I mean, I've always been like really ambitious in myself. It's interesting you spoke about Gary Vee. I kind of started when I was when I was in school, actually, but I loved flipping things. I've always enjoyed making money and selling stuff, and you know, the psychological side of people buying things. I think it's fascinating. Like when I was in school, I remember everyone was like selling sweets, so I was like, well, I'm not selling sweets, I'm gonna sell what did I sell at the time? Angry Birds was like huge, and I used to buy on eBay these headphone winders, because everyone had headphones in school in their blazers, and they'd get knotted, and I was like, well, this is a problem that needs solving. So I bought these headphone winders and Angry Bird headphones. And I was buying them for like pennies and then selling them for like a $5 to $10.
That's crazy. That's mad. I've literally heard of everything, like from selling Lucozade to cookies to whatever it may be, but I've never heard of someone selling Angry Bird earphones. It
was like a really lucrative business. And then I remember one of my heads of houses taking my like rucksack that I had them all in off of me, and I never got them back.
No.
I think my mum and dad were like, get them back, like, this is your pocket money, this is how you're gonna live. But so when it came to me wanting to start TOMM, it wasn't like, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to be a businesswoman, or I just don't like being told what to do. I love learning from people, and I'm the first person to tell you that I am probably the least educated, the least knowing of something. You know, I will sit there and be like, yeah, I'm ready to learn. Like, tell me what you know, I'm very big in learning. It's not that I hate education. I just don't like learning about things I don't want to learn about. But for me, TOMM was an expression of my rebellious childhood. You know, even the name comes from being a rebellious tomboy.
That, because I was going to ask that, where did it come
Yeah.
from? Yeah. Tell us more about that then. Why did you sort of decide to pick that name? Was that, like you said, just to sort of like I guess with what I've done, really, isn't it? With If Only They Knew, I wanted that to sort of be the main focus, that sort of rebellion, sort of outsider mindset. I wanted to sort of stamp that as the main thing. I guess that's what you wanted to do as well, right?
Yeah, it made sense for me. I was, I still am. I mean, obviously, I, wear jewelry and I wear nice things or whatever, and to be perceived as girly. But I grew up as a tomboy. My best friends in primary school with boys. When I went to secondary school, I was forced into wearing a skirt, and it was just like, I'm not going to this school if I have to wear a skirt.
No.
And they managed to get me into a skirt, but I don't think I've put one back on since. I wanted to create a brand that people didn't feel intimidated by, because I felt intimidated by some of the bigger jewelry brands.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
and it was it worked. Like, I've got people that have such different styles to other of my customers are so broad. You've got like the girly girls, but you've also got like, you've got goths, you've got women in their 70s, you've got 18-year-old girls, you've got, I've got guys that wear some of my pieces. It's just, and it was all about community, because, well, if I can't feel like I fit somewhere, then I'm going to make someone that I can feel I fit in, and invite people to come and feel comfortable and have fun with me. Because what's the point of doing anything if you're not having fun?
Yeah, that's it. We'll definitely get into that about the community building. I think that's such an important element of what you've created there. But like, final thing before we sort of get into what you're currently up to, did you say you started making the jewelry at around 10? Like making jewelry around 10, and then making jewelry for TOMM, it was just a few years ago, wasn't it? So
yeah.
Tell us about that, how that transitioned into an actual business, and yeah, talk us through those steps of that, perhaps a eureka moment where you thought, you know what, I can crack on with this business.
Yeah, so I started when I was about 10. I was still in primary school. I'm not an introvert, and I am to everyone an extrovert, but I really need my own time and mental time to myself. Otherwise, I wouldn't be myself day to day. I would not be able to mentally cope with the ideas that are going on in my brain every day. So actually, jewelry making at a young age was like a way of focusing. And if I was upset, I was angry about something, it was a way of putting that energy into something that was good for me and creative. And I remember having friends around, and I'd, when people were going to the cinema or going bowling for their birthday, I'd be like, I want to do a jewelry party. Which is really ironic, because I ended up leading my business into doing that.
Wow.
But yeah, it was, so 10 years old, then 19 years old, I started TOMM. And quite literally one day I was showing a friend's mum my pieces, and I was like, oh yeah, this is stuff that I made like however many years ago, because it just, I don't know, I found it or something in the wardrobe. And she was like, this is really good, like people would wear this. And I was like, really? I was like, I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. And I ended up just getting it back out as a hobby again, picked it back up, and people were just asking for it. Friends were like, can I get an order in? Can I do this? Can I, my mum's friend wants to buy some. And it was quite literally a hobby that turned into a career, which is amazing, that's it. That's how the making kind of came back into my life.
Yeah. So how did you, it doesn't seem like you actually need the confidence, but did you do anything to sort of build that confidence in terms of that industry, or did your passion shine through? Like, did you have experience in the beauty industry before that to sort of lead up to it, or was it just your passion?
I will actually both the beauty. So I worked in as a, I don't know if I can class myself as a makeup artist, because I was only trained by brands, but at 16, I was like one of the youngest benefit makeup artists, and I worked for an incredible brand called Guerlain, which was a perfumery, which, it was amazing, and I was, very good at selling their products for them. But then previous to that, I was an actress. I did acting. I would go to I traveled up to London when I was like 12 years old on my own to go to castings,
Wow.
which was a world that I thought I was going to be in. I thought I was going to be an actress. So I was like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going to be the next Angelina Jolie. I was like, yeah. Now I couldn't think of anything worse.
Yeah.
But no, that, yeah, beauty,
Wow.
interesting enough, that was sales, and I love people. I love being around people. I think people are fascinating, and listening to their stories only creates amazing ideas for you. But no, the beauty world wasn't for me.
No, why not just not?
So, for example, I've just put on makeup just for this podcast. I don't wear makeup. I don't wear makeup every day. I wear it for real special occasion. I just can't be bothered. Like, my time is so precious to me.
Yeah.
You know, I can't. I really respect people in the beauty industry. I think it's extremely competitive and ambitious, and the world's very different now than when I mean, it wasn't that long ago when I was 16, but
Yeah.
you know, it's social media, makeup artists, stuff like that is incredible. And I was never a very good makeup artist in comparison, but I liked selling beauty products. So, and the customers that would come to me obviously are normally quite shy, or, you know, it's to do with their appearance. So I think being very compassionate and, you know, being a very humble person towards everyone's situation was always very important to me, which
Yeah, I get that.
I like to think that I've brought into TOMM.
I can see that as well. As you're speaking, I can feel your what's the word, like personableness. That's not a word, is it? But you know what I mean.
We'll go with it.
We'll make it up. But you know what I mean.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't ask me. I'm dyslexic. I'm the
But you get what I'm saying. But in terms of that point about not the beauty industry not really being for you, and acting not really being for you, how important is it to know what is for you then? And on that point, have you had any other ventures that you've sort of started and perhaps not gone so well? Yeah, talk to us about that.
I am someone that I have a very small attention span.
Yeah.
So, and I get really distracted. So the fact that I've had TOMM for 3 years is pretty impressive, because it means I must really like it.
Yeah.
Because I've stuck at it, and I adore what I do. I love even the bits that aren't nice, because there are bits that aren't nice. But I've not yet, but I know that I will.
Yeah.
I know that I'm gonna, one of my things that I know that I'll be doing in my life is educating and like basically what we were speaking about earlier about the school system. I'd love to be able to do seminars for people, go into schools, go into universities, and basically get kicked out of universities because I'm telling their students,
Yeah.
be here. Don't go here, you can do so much better on your own.
Leave now.
That's not true, but obviously I'm sure they'll do amazing things with their degree. But I love helping people, and as much as I love TOMM, I don't see it as I don't feel like I'm gonna forever be in it. I feel like my long term is to help people in a wider scale, and probably will be relevant to what I do with TOMM. But I love helping. I love talking, and I love helping.
I think that's important though, isn't it? Like, knowing that even though you've been in this for a few years now, and like me, I've been with If Only They Knew for 5 years, like,
Amazing.
even though you've been in it for so many years and it seems like a long time when you're in it, sometimes it's important to know that after a bit, this may just be the very first step. So even if something goes wrong, or it doesn't turn out how you planned, or even if it does, you'll probably lead on to something else, isn't it? So I think that's an important point to make about the evolution of your journey.
You don't need to know, you got to just trust.
Yeah.
When I discovered law of attraction,
oh, here we go.
yeah, when I discovered law of attraction, that's when my life really began.
Yeah.
And I feel so grateful to have discovered it at such a young age. I remember I was 18 years old, and I was introduced to it by an ex-boyfriend's an ex-boyfriend and his family, who are really good friends with me. I'm still really good friends with them now. They introduced it was like, I was like, what? I was like,
Yeah, it sounds weird, doesn't it? Yeah.
I was like, you're crazy. Like, what are you guys taking? I want to be part of it. And I really struggled with like self-confidence. Like, I doubted myself. I was like I would constantly compare myself to people around me, appearance, or not just appearance based, but what they were doing with their lives. You know, constantly felt like I had to compete with people, even my own sisters, which I have 2 of. So there's 3 girls, which is difficult. 3 women,
Yeah,
4 women in one house.
Yeah,
My poor dad. So when I discovered it, I remember reading, it was Abraham Hicks.
yeah.
And I still listen to her on YouTube videos pretty much every day if I can, because she grounds me.
Yeah.
But that was something that changed my life, basically.
Yeah, I haven't put too much. I need to listen to a bit more Abraham Hicks. Hicks or Wicks?
Hicks.
Hicks, yeah, I thought so.
It's Esther Hicks.
Esther Hicks,
Abraham's who.
Yeah. When I first heard that, I was like, wait, what? Because I heard of them, like, but I thought there was 2 separate people. I thought there was like twins or something. Like, I didn't understand what was going on there. But it is a very, very important thing, I think, for people to sort of dive into. Well, maybe not dive into straight away, maybe dip your toe into and get a feel for it, because it does sound quite nuts at first, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think I personally, how I look at things is, if it makes you feel good, then believe in it. You know, if it hurts no one and it makes you feel great, then I would never tell you to think otherwise. But for me, what it taught me was the journey really is the most important part. And as cliche as it sounds, in my life, it's made me realize every day is a gift. And okay, I've got huge goals for Tom, like Pandora move out the way.
Yeah.
TOMM Jewellery's coming through. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, actually, but but at the same time, I'm not in any rush.
Yeah.
I love every day. You know, I've only got one life. I'm not going to make it grueling. Get to a destination which might not happen until I'm, 60. It could be after I pass away. Like, you don't know.
You never know. Yeah, that's it.
And that's okay. I just know that all I do is try and enjoy whatever I'm doing. Okay, reality is not every day is going to be all rainbows and butterflies, but if it was, you wouldn't know contrast. So being aware of contrast in your life, being able to take the bad as much as you can take the good, celebrate your losses as much as you celebrate your wins, that has grounded me to push through everything since that day.
I love that though, isn't it? Like enjoying the process, no matter what happens. Like, I've been there before. I literally went down to -£5 in my bank whilst I was at uni, went for a massive depression, but something inside of me was like, you know what? Just forget about it. Just enjoy it whilst you're in it. As mad as that sounds, work your way back up. And I have this weird thing here. Like, if this sounds weird, just let me know. But I always think, like, whenever something bad happens, I think, you know what, this will sound so good in my autobiography. I don't know why. I think this would be a brilliant chapter. Like, even when I went down to -£5, I was like, brilliant, what a chapter. And
I believe that is the best mindset to have, having a glass half full mindset, because I'm the same. I mean, I don't think about an autobiography purely because I go, well, why would anyone want to read that about my life? And also, I can't write to save my life, so someone would have to do it for me. But when it comes to, say, something bad happens, or I have normally when it's the storm, it's the calm before the storm, or the storm and then the calm happens after. When something bad happens to me, inevitably something good really happens, like something really good happens to me after as well.
That's it.
So bring on the bad, because the good's going to come straight after.
Well, let's talk about some of the good things then, because I was looking at your website and you've had like good people. Well, obviously all your customers are good, but you've had like really influential people supporting the brand, haven't you? Tell us a bit more about that, and how have you managed to build that brand where it's a real sort of a real live sort of living, breathing thing almost in the community. Like it had so many interactions with great people and stuff like that. How have you built that, and who are some of the names that have purchased from the brand?
That's interesting that you said that, and I'm really grateful that you've spotted it, because that was what was most important for me, is having a brand that had its own moving soul,
Yeah,
heart,
yeah,
you know. And I grew it quite literally. When I first started, it was making sure that I was in front of the camera and making people realize that I'm here. Like, this is a real thing. I'm real. You can speak to me. It's hard work to do that, but long term, it makes a difference, and it makes the brand, it makes it 4-dimensional. It makes it relatable. It makes it, why would someone buy from you and not someone else? Well, that's the way. That's how you do it. But no, it was one of the biggest things that happened to Tom when it comes to like celebrities. I don't think you need celebrities. I think they help.
Yeah.
But there are celebrities that you could work with and it doesn't do anything for your brand.
Yeah.
But we had I actually remember when it happened, because we just got hacked. I got my Instagram hacked. I say we, we as me and Tom.
Yeah.
Now there is actually a we, but
back then.
back then it was just me and Tom. Me and Tom just chilling. I got my Instagram account hacked, and it was we just hit 10,000 followers, and I'd been growing it for so long, and I was like, oh my god, it's horrific.
No.
And like my heart was pulled out of my chest, and I was like doing like almost protests, like get me in front of Instagram.
Yeah.
I had like videos go like viral on Instagram and stuff, because so many people were helping me share it, and I had people reaching out. And anyway, we got the Instagram account back, and 2 days after, I had Stacey Solomon DM me, saying, it was just before Valentine's Day 2021.
Yeah.
And COVID years, all in one. 2021, just before Valentine's Day, saying, can I buy these earrings for me and my best friend Sophie, aka Mrs. Hinch?
No way.
For Galentine's Day.
Wow.
And obviously I was like, yes.
yes you can.
I was like, I'm hyperventilating. And I think I sent her a voice note, which probably, if I listen back, will make me feel a bit sick. I was like ridiculously excited, because I grew up watching Loose Women with my sisters. My older sister was actually a bit of a Stacey Solomon like super fan. And we were like watching from X Factor and stuff. It was X Factor. Yeah, X Factor. So that happened, and it just kind of, I've always stayed in contact with her, which has been really cool. Amazing. And Mrs. Hinch, and she sent us messages, and we send her little things. She actually wears our rose quartz bracelet, Touch of Quartz it's called, and we sent that to her probably about 12 months before she had her daughter Rose.
Yeah.
And it was just because it's the gemstone of fertility and love.
Oh wow.
And it was really like, I am quite spiritual. I don't come across spiritual, but I am. And I like messaged her, and I was like, oh my god. I was like, you're wearing this gemstone of like love and fertility. And it was just and her daughter's called Rose. So I don't know, a bit of serendipity or something, fate, I don't know. It was just quite a nice, beautiful moment for me and the brand, and working with like-minded people that are incredibly supportive and kind and generous. It's just always lovely. It's just a massive perk of what I get to do, really.
Yeah, that's it. And it's like exactly what you said just before that as well, like the storm before the calm. You got hacked, and a couple of days later you got like one of the best opportunities you could have, really, in that sense. That's amazing.
Timing is, and patience is everything. Don't freak out. I learned that because I could easily get annoyed and angry by stuff, especially when I was younger. I was such a moody teenager. Like, everything annoys me. I was so many eye rolls, like, like, do I have to wait? But patience quite literally is virtue, and again, it sounds cliche, but the chances are, if something bad's happened to you, there really is going to be a gift coming around your corner. And I just think if you think that and believe it, it makes you feel good.
Even if it's a placebo, isn't it? I always say that, like, even if you just sort of put yourself in that mindset, even if it's just a placebo or coincidence, whatever it may be, just feeling that positive energy and having that positive outlook, focusing on the future, I think is so important, isn't it?
Definitely.
What in terms of the practical sense, like, you've done a lot of good things in terms of the practical sense, before we round off here, what are some of the things that you've done to build the brand? Am I right in saying you went to like set up stalls and stuff at festivals and stuff like that, and really sort of made a conscious effort to get out into the world? Is that right? And tell us a bit more about your efforts in building the brand.
Yeah, so like post-COVID, is it post or pre-COVID?
Yeah.
I was doing everything and anything I could, because the brand didn't have we weren't known, so we needed people to, I had to get in front of people's faces, and get in front of people's faces. I did. I kind of did everything and anything. I was doing like jewelry making parties,
Wow.
which were like kind of like Avon style tropics.
Oh, yeah.
Like Anne Summers parties, actually, like,
Yeah.
but not as sexy. Unfortunately, for my customers, wasn't as sexy, but it was really good fun, and the customers got to have it in their home, and they'd invite their best friends over, and people kind of would just get excited with each other, like, oh my god, this looks really pretty, and you know, get the brand out there. And then like the, you know, the name got around. You know, I think Gary Vee says this, actually, like, conquer your village before you can conquer the country. You know,
Yeah, I love that.
That was what I did. That's kind of the decision I made. It was like, right, I can't be national until people know me in my village, and people know me in my town and in my city. And you know, we are known now around where we live in West Sussex, which is brilliant. But then I did a festival, I did loads of events, but one festival in particular, which was incredible and exhausting. I remember turning up, setting up with my mum, and having this big gazebo and thinking, oh my god, this is going to be a mental day. And it was, and just selling out. And
wow.
I got back at like 11:30, didn't unfortunately get to watch any of the shows. I got back at like 11:30 at night and had to be up for 4, and the next day I had no stock.
Oh.
So I had to stay up, and it was like I was on, and I wasn't, I don't do anything like that. It was like it was like something came through me that made my little fingers work.
Yeah.
Because I have to hand make everything, especially at that time it was just me from my bedroom.
That's your passion though, isn't it? Like, you're talking about that rush of energy. That's your passion, I guess, coming through you and keeping you going to get you to that next.
I was like, well, I have to. Like, I have to turn up. Like, I've got to turn up. And one of my greatest skills is to be, I'm either fashionably late or I'm totally unprepared and manage to whip it up in a few moments before, which most people in my life hate about me, but it's I think it's a skill anyway. But no, that was an amazing experience. And then obviously COVID happened. I had to totally reevaluate my business. So I was like, right, you either sink or swim. And it was that moment that I decided, right, don't let COVID get you down, don't let COVID upset you, don't let everyone that's complaining about it consume you. I was like, actually, this is an opportunity for me to adapt, because reality was my business needs to thrive online. That's the way forward. And I needed to adjust and stop dependent on the energy that I was spending on, you know, face-to-face events, which is so exhausting.
I bet.
I needed to learn more about the online world. And I started doing, actually went back to my roots. And because of COVID being such a mental, you know, caused such depression within people, I was like, well, jewelry making really helped me. So I'm going to put together jewelry making kits. And they like went crazy, like thousands of units.
Wow.
And I was making them in my mum and dad's kitchen, like this. Like, I don't know. I'm like, Pickling there, and walking to the post office every day, like twice a day, distributing jewelry making kits all over the country,
Wow.
all over the world actually. Like they were being bought in Australia, America.
Wow.
Before Brexit, America was really easy to get into, and Europe and stuff. But
what was you thinking then at that time when you, like you said, you sort of going through all these motions and you have so much going on? What was you thinking? Was it sort of I made it moment, or try and sort of encapsulate that moment if you can, when everything was going a bit mad but in a good way?
it's like the only way I can describe it is when you're making a recipe or making food, you're making a dinner that you've not tried before, and you try it and you're like,
yeah, smashed it.
This is good.
Yeah.
Like that's because I love cooking, so that's like cooking is another escapism for me. It's the only time that my brain actually switches off from work. That's my way of explaining how it feels when something's coming together.
Really weird. Yeah, before we get into the quick fire round, do you ever see yourself going into like a cooking business or some form, like whether it's baking or whatever? I can really picture you doing that. I don't know why.
What's like Nigella meets what's her face, Mary Berry.
Yeah, not very bad.
Like a combination of the two.
I'm just thinking, I don't know, I can picture like, you know, like Alana Spencer, if you know her off The Apprentice, she had like the brownies and stuff, like the gooey brownies and stuff like that. I can picture you doing something like that.
And Camilla nut milk, didn't she?
Yeah. That sounds like a no to me.
You know why?
Yeah.
It's not, I love it. I love baking. I would be about 20 stone and would eat everything.
Yeah, that's it.
That's why I don't have any self-control when it comes to, like, I would eat my products. So
yeah. Just keep that as a hobby. Yeah, that's it.
But never say never. That is what I live by. So we might be having another call in like 5 years' time. You'll be like,
that's it. Yeah.
I'll be like this, but you'll be like, see?
You said that, yeah. Let's get into the quick fire round then, just before we round this all off. If we'll try and keep this one-liners, yeah. I've been trying to do this quick fire round, but it ends up adding another like half hour onto the podcast. So we'll see if we can do this in a one-liner if possible. Do you have a morning routine that fires you up? For me, I started doing breath work and cold showers and Tony Robbins priming. He has like the priming video. Do you do anything that fires you up in the morning to get you going? No.
I wish I was like you.
Yeah.
I try and be like you. What I do in the morning is get out of my house as quickly as possible and not talk to anyone that's gonna affect my what's the word?
Like your mood, like knock you off your equilibrium.
When you wake up and you're the most aligned.
Oh yeah.
I don't want that alignment to be affected, so I try and like wake up and get ready as quickly as possible and get out of the house. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, straight to work, I guess. And your favorite entrepreneurial brand, do you have someone out there or a brand out there that you look up to in any form for any reason?
I think as a entrepreneur, someone that I like look at as a role model is probably Grace Beverly.
Oh yeah, I agree.
She, I think, is pretty inspirational.
Yeah.
I mean, there's loads. Yeah. There's so many.
Yeah.
I am a hard Gary Vee fan as well.
Yeah, I love him. Yeah.
I like his honesty.
Yeah, that's it. He's the one that sort of kept me going through the hard times as well, definitely. What is one thing you're proud of, whether it's on a personal level or from the business? Is there one thing you look back on that you say you're proud of?
I think my biggest achievement was becoming, like, I'm most proud of myself for being humble and self-aware, and I learned that through the dark times of my life.
That's so weird because that's my answer as well. Like there's something so sort of powerful about going so dark and so deep. You've seen what's at the bottom and you're like, right, I'll make sure I'll never come back here again. Let's go straight to the top with all that knowledge and experience as well. I think that's powerful, isn't it?
I think it's super powerful, and I think what it teaches you most, which is so valuable, and you know, when it comes to other people, your understanding of them is like so compassionate.
Yeah.
And I don't think everyone has that.
Oh yeah, I think it's definitely rare. I think emotional intelligence is a very, very rare trait. So if you've got someone that's got that sort of EQ, I think they call it, definitely keep them on board. Last couple then, obviously my show's called If Only They Knew. What is one thing that you wish you knew at an earlier stage, again, in your life or your business career?
That it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what other people think.
That's it, innit? Just, it's all about
the best people in the world.
That's it. That's it. Good or bad as well, isn't it? Just sort of brush it off either way, take it on board, but leave it behind if necessary. And the final thing, have you got one piece of advice for the young people out there? Again, whether it's the business world or more of the mindset, what would be your advice for those young people out there?
Stop holding grudges and just enjoy things more.
Yeah, that's it. Enjoy the process and trust the process, most importantly. I think that's a big point. The final thing then, before I give you the floor to give a final message, what's next for you and the brand? And tied in with that, what do you want your legacy to be, if you want a legacy at all?
I just want TOMM to be the biggest jewelry brand in the whole world.
Do you have like a legacy in terms of your personal thing as well, or is it more sort of you want to push the brands out there?
I think a legacy that I'd like to leave is, for me, TOMM is my platform for me to be able to have the capability of helping people.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
you can't preach something you've not, done.
Yeah.
So my legacy, I hope, will be that I have helped many lost, wandering young people that needed looking after, and teaching about how life's actually pretty cool if you figure it out, that not everyone's out to get you.
That's
it. Yeah, basically.
That's a big point. That's definitely a big point. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time as well. This is almost an hour, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Ted.
That's all right. Just before we get you out then, do you have a final message, or if not, where can people find out more about you and your brands?
So head over to our Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, everywhere. We are TOMM Jewellery, TOMM Jewellery. That's from trying to spell my surname. So TOMM. Yeah, that's it really. If you want to watch me do some crazy stuff on TikTok, that's where I'll be.
Perfect. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Take care. Bye.